Here are 10 mob headquarters in New York City that you need to know about. The first is the Ravenite Social Club at 247 Mulberry Street in Little Italy in Manhattan. Little Italy is a part of the Lower East Side and is where the majority of Italian immigrants settled in the late 1800s to early 1900s. Although the Ravenite goes back many decades to the days of Carlo Gambino and Agnello della Croce, most remember this club as the headquarters of John Gotti when he took over the Gambino family after arranging the assassination of boss Paul Castellano in front of Sparks Steakhouse in 1985. Just a few blocks away and also on the Lower East Side at 102 Norfolk Street is the former headquarters of Meyer Lansky, close associate and best friend to Lucky Luciano. Lansky used the back room of one of his favorite restaurants, Ratner's Dairy, to plan his formidable bootlegging and gambling empire back in the 1920s and 30s. And because the back room joined up with two other adjacent buildings, that made it a very convenient spot from which to escape through the building's various back alleys and exits should the need arise. Great spot to enjoy a cocktail, by the way. Come on a Monday or Tuesday night to avoid the touristy crowds on the weekends. From the Lower East Side, we head on up to Midtown Manhattan to 230 Park Avenue, also known as the Helmsley Building. Lucky Luciano, one of the key figures in the early days of the New York Mafia and the man who put the organized crime, plotted the assassination of mob boss Salvatore Maranzano, who had his office on the 19th floor of this building. The murder of Maranzano, along with rival mob boss Joe Masseria, was the final chapter in the infamous Castellamarese Wars that led to Luciano forming the Commission and the 5 families of New York we have today. From Midtown Manhattan, we head way uptown to 416 East 115th Street in East Harlem, home to the social club of one Anthony Fat Tony Salerno. Fat Tony often held court at a small table on the sidewalk in front of the Palma Boys Social Club. Salerno was the front boss of the Genovese family as a cover for Vincent the Chin Gigante, the true godfather of the Genovese family, who we'll talk about later. Salerno was an old-time mobster who was very respected and who made a lot of money for the family. Next, it's over to Brooklyn to the Gemini Lounge at 4021 Flatlands Avenue. This was the headquarters of one of the most feared and deadliest hitmen in the history of the New York Mafia, Roy DeMeo, a member of the Gambino crime family. DeMeo and his crew would often lure their victims to the lounge where they would execute them and dismember them. This became known as the Gemini method. Today, it is a Flatlands Church of God. From here in Brooklyn, we head over to South Ozone Park, Queens, to 114-45 Lefferts Boulevard. This was the location of Robert's Lounge, which became the headquarters of Jimmy Burke, an associate of the Lucchese crime family, and who was played by Robert De Niro as Jimmy Conway in the movie Goodfellas. According to Lucchese family associate Henry Hill, multiple mob victims were buried at the bar, which was often described as Burke's private cemetery. A couple of bodies were found under the bocce courts in the back, and a human leg bone and a portion of a human shoulder bone were excavated from the basement of the lounge in 1980. A short distance from Robert's Lounge and also in South Ozone Park, we come to the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club, former headquarters of John Gotti before he took over as the boss of the Gambino family after the assassination of Paul Castellano. One of the reasons for the club's location is its close proximity to JFK Airport with its increasing volume of cargo and opportunity for hijackings. When Gotti died in 2002, people poured in from all over to pay their respects at the Bergen Hunt and Fish Club. From here, we head over to the former social club of Gambino capo Jimmy Fila. It was called the Veterans and Friends Social Club and was at 1468 86th Street in the neighborhood of Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. Just a few months after the assassination of Gambino boss Paul Castellano in December of 1985, a car bomb meant for John Gotti exploded in front of this club, killing Frank DeCicco instead. DeCicco was involved in the plot along with Sammy the Bull Gravano and John Gotti to assassinate Castellano and install Gotti as boss of the family. Also in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, over at 6205 18th Avenue, was Tallys Bar, longtime haunt of former Gambino underboss Sammy the Bull Gravano. A couple of guys in Gravano's crew were brutally murdered here. Today, a restaurant. The bullet holes still mark the brick walls, but it's the more ghostly matters that have the restaurant owners and staff spooked. They have reported seeing figures seated at tables or heading down to the basement but then mysteriously vanished. They have also heard voices and the noise of a chainsaw, smelled foul odors, and felt they were being watched. Great place to grab a bite to eat, folks. For our last stop, it's back to Manhattan, downtown, to 208 Sullivan Street in Greenwich Village, to the old Triangle Civic Improvement Association. This was the low-key headquarters of one of the most interesting godfathers in the history of the New York Mafia, Vincent the Chin Gigante. Gigante pretended to be crazy to avoid the feds, even going so far as to walk around the neighborhood in his bathrobe and slippers. Today, a tea shop, the old club was located across the street from Gigante's mother's home, Yolanda, with whom he lived.